Good morning. My name is Melanie Ferris. Thank you for joining us on our MKO Facebook page this morning. We are here today on the third anniversary of the release of the MMIWG report. Today we're going to have a discussion with Heidi Spence. She is the new director for MKO's MMIWG Liaison unit. I want to say that I'll be the MC for the discussion, and I want to tell you what the acronym MMIWG means. It means Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. So we'll be using that acronym. And we also use the acronym MMIWG 2S plus, and that's we're including the Two-Spirit and other individuals in that as well, because many different people are impacted by gender-based violence. I'm joining you from Treaty 1 territory, and I'm very pleased to be here with you. As I mentioned, this is the 3-year anniversary of Reclaiming Power in Place, the final report from the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. Before we go further, I just want to add a warning right now to say that the information we discuss today may be triggering for some of our listeners or viewers. We want to encourage you to reach out to others for support if you are impacted by what we share today. We are going to share some resources in the comments that you can reach out to for support if needed. It is important to acknowledge the impact violence has had on our relatives because it is a reality that many of our community members have experienced with violence and abuse. Many people in our communities have sadly lost their loved ones to violence. In the span of 2 weeks, the Winnipeg Police announced the homicides of 3 different Indigenous women. We send our condolences to their families. MKO's MMIWG Liaison unit is on the front lines when it comes to responding to calls from community members for supporting them in responding to issues related to domestic violence. Today, we'll talk with Heidi Spence. She's the new director of MKO's MMIWG Liaison unit. And I want to invite Heidi to introduce herself, and then we're going to have a brief discussion with some of the questions that I have for her. And I want to thank all of you for joining us and listening in to us today. Thank you. So Heidi, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Melanie. Hi everyone. My name is Heidi Spence, and like Melanie mentioned, I'm the new director of the MMIWG Liaison unit here at MKO. I am joining everybody from Treaty 1 territory, and I'm in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I do have family roots up in Thompson. I'm originally from Nisitchwasik, Manitoba, and I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you, Heidi. So I just want to say congratulations on your new role. We work very closely together, and I know that it's been a very busy few weeks that you've been having. So I'm just going to go down to my first question for you. So just give me 1 second as I pull it up here. So I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about MKO's MMIWG Liaison unit.
Yeah, so our unit, our primary function is to support families and communities who are impacted by missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and survivors of gender-based violence, and also Two-Spirit and gender diverse people. An important part of the work that our unit does is also focused on advocacy, building partnerships and relationships. We also do a lot of prevention and awareness on all forms of violence towards Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people. And also a large component of the unit's work is focused on healing and reclaiming spirit and empowerment. Our unit currently right now consists of 10 staff. We have a staff in Thompson. So we have four staff there. We have a wellness and community support liaison worker, an office and community support worker, a project coordinator and researcher, and our unit grandmother. So in the Thompson office, you can find Amy, Jennifer, Angela, and grandmother Marie. They're based out of Thompson. And then here in Winnipeg, we have a little bit of a larger team on this end. We have our cultural and land-based coordinator, Isabel, decolonizing anti-racism coordinator, that would be Kelly, our Prevention and Healings Initiative coordinator, which works on the Men and Boys Are Part of the Solution program. That would be Sherry. We have an executive assistant to the whole unit. That would be Jackie. Our projects and events coordinator, Oliver, and another wellness and community support liaison worker, which would be Tamara, and then myself. So I think that makes 11 of us right now. So we do have a pretty large team. Everyone is, like I said, everyone's busy today. We're preparing to do some events and activities this afternoon, and the team, they're great. I work with a great bunch of people, and I couldn't be happier, to have such a strong team. Everyone is very dedicated to the work that we do, working with family members, and individuals, walking alongside with them, on their journey to healing and justice. And like I said, the team, we're very easy to get a hold of. We're a phone call away, and we're pretty responsive, and always willing to take that time and that extra step to make sure that we're providing cultural, safe, and trauma-informed supports. And however that looks, our scope of services can be very broad, because it's there's not one situation is the same. We will often tailor our services and create a care plan based on individual needs, and try to create the best wraparound of care services. And if there is, something that we can't do right within our unit, and then, we're going to kind of branch out to within the other programs that we have within MKO, whether it's our justice program, CFS Secretariat, our traditional healers or mobile crisis team. If we can't find that support, within the organization, then we're going to branch out even, into community on that community level. And, we'll always give options. We try to give as many options as possible to be able to support an individual or individuals. Sometimes, it's families or, whole groups that we support. So that's a little bit about our team, kind of in a nutshell.
Thank you, Heidi. I know that your team is extremely busy. There's a lot of work to do around this issue. I'm wondering if you can tell me a little bit about what made you want to take on this role. I guess when I first came on to the unit, I really enjoy the work, and and it's the connection with the people, that I get a chance to work with and work alongside with, and when the opportunity came up, I wanted, I guess, kind of in a way, I wanted to still be part of a team, that, I watched, and I was part of over, prior to coming into the role, I was part of the team, and I kind of held a few roles within the team, for the about 2 years I've been with the unit. So I wanted to take that opportunity to be able to grow and, to continue doing the work with everybody. And now, like I said, we have a bunch of new team members. So, I think it's, about sharing, the knowledge and the experience and with, the new staff that came on, so yeah. Thank you. I was wondering if there's any stories that you wanted to share about the issue of gender-based violence.
There's a lot of stories, that I can kind of think of, but gender-based violence, and then I guess that would be another reason why I continue to want to be a leader as well, and to lead the team and to kind of help guide the work that we're doing is, when it comes to the issue of gender-based violence, that's something that that has a big place in my heart. Being somebody who's a survivor of gender-based violence, I know what it's like to be on the other side of that kind of that line of being, the person that needs help and that support person. So, being able to speak to both sides, I think, I've had opportunities where, the help, received is really great. And, now that I'm in the role as being a helper and, being able to offer supports to others who have been impacted by gender-based violence and, the whole issue of MMIWG, it's something that's really close to me. And, if there's anything that I can do, to make things better, for family members and individuals, I feel like I'm in the right place to do it and to be able to share that knowledge and lived experience and to help others.
Okay, thank you. And I agree, there are a lot of stories. I've been working with MKO for 3 years, and we've done a lot of work with families impacted by this issue. And once I meet the families, I never forget them. I think about them all the time, and especially today. So I just want to let the people who are watching who've been impacted by this issue know that you're very special to us, and we keep you in our prayers and our thoughts. One of the things that I have the honor of helping with is the issue of missing people. So when people from MKO nations go missing in Winnipeg, a lot of times their families will approach the MMIWG unit to ask for help. So I'm just wondering if you can share a little bit about that. If someone is seeking a missing person, would you be able to provide some information about how they access our help?
Yeah. So, like I always say, when you're getting ready to reach out for help too, it's important that when filing a report of someone missing, it's always first go to your local policing or your RCMP, and sometimes it's hard for family members to even to go there, and then that's where like our unit, we can come in and we can help with that process of making that report, because sometimes it's the information and kind of gathering it and putting it together when family members are like in a state of like kind of crisis and panic, it's hard to be able to share that. So with our team, we will take the time and allow for that, however much time it needs. We never want to rush anybody. We take that opportunity to even kind of ground a person, and let them share what they need to share with us. And sometimes we will call in the report on a family's behalf if they just if they can't do it themselves. We'll help, and we can assist with doing that and gather all the information. And some of the other things that we'll often do too is if there's a request to do like a media sharing, and so to make it more public. I know, like Melanie, you've helped with a lot of media releases and like sharing on Facebook or social media pages. So what we want to try and get as much information as we can out to the public when there's a person that's missing. And then just some of the other stuff that we kind of do in between, is just offering the family that that emotional and health support. And in some circumstances too, if a family is unable to come to like more urban areas, we can help and assist with them with traveling and to get them situated. Like, say we'll use Winnipeg for an example, and help provide and direct them to resources that are in the city while they're staying here. And keep in close contact with them too, because sometimes when families and individuals come to a larger city like Winnipeg, it can get overwhelming when you don't know where to go, or you don't know who to call, or kind of where to start. So we have our teammates that are very knowledgeable of what can be accessed in the city, and to kind of where to go, those next steps. And we'll have staff members work with families and work constantly, even, and like I say, crisis situations, they don't happen from 8 to 4. If there's a need for that assistance on the weekends, on the evenings, our team is very flexible. at providing that support when there's that urgent need for it. So I guess that's kind of like one of the unique things that, you know, we try to make ourselves as available as possible. And especially when it's time sensitive, you know, when someone's missing, and just providing that overall support, and, you know, trying to make sure, you know, family members are comfortable too, you know, when they're here, because they, you know, emotions can get very high, and it's a really stressful time and difficult time. So anything that we can do to help kind of alleviate that and kind of soften that a bit, you know, that's, you know, what we do. And like I said, you know, every situation and every family is different. And again, you know, we often will think outside of the box, you know, to try and help in any way we can.
Okay, thank you. So Heidi, is there a contact info we could share right now? Like a phone number or an email or something, so that if people wanted to reach out for help, they have that info?
Yeah, so I have the toll-free number, which I'll share it, and you guys can maybe put it in the chat, but it's 1-800-442-0488. And that's our MMIWG toll-free number. And then you can also take my number as well and email. My number is 204-307-0485. And then heidi.spence@mkonorth.com. Cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think that we're open to helping families who are from any First Nation. Is that correct?
Yeah. So our program, it's not, you know, it's not just the North. We're provincial, so it could be from any First Nation community within Manitoba.
Thank you. So I just want to ask you, you know, is there anything that people would be surprised to know about this work that you do?
You know what, I think I was kind of thinking about that, and it's, you know, I've had an opportunity to talk to quite a few young people, which is good, you know, and one of the things that I kind of found surprised, and they kind of did too, is you know, when talking to younger people about the issue of MMIWG, you know, they know, a lot of young people that I've spoken to, you know, they know what MMIWG is, especially more recently because of what is, you know, often shared in the media and, you know, and social media outlets. But a lot of times too, and speaking specifically to the significance of today, a lot of them aren't aware of what the national inquiry was and what the 231 calls for justice are. So that's, you know, for me, that's kind of surprising, and for them too. You know, so I think that, you know, that goes to show, you know, that there needs to be more education and more conversations around, you know, what the 231 calls for justice are, and what, you know, what the final report of the national inquiry, what that is, you know. So that's, you know, I had a, not really a tough thing, but as you know, for what the surprise would be. But, you know, that's something that I kind of noticed, and, you know, coming from young people, you know, they were surprised that there's so much more information than what is portrayed on the media and on social media, as well as, you know, that big chunk of information that, you know, as Canadians, we should all know, and we should all take the time, you know, to learn about.
Thank you. I maybe want to share a little personal story about a surprise I had when I was about 12. I lived in a predominantly Métis community, and we used to trade pictures. We used to get these pictures from school, and I had all the pictures of all my girlfriends up on the wall, and I had a lot of friends in grade 7. And I remember like going through all their pictures. There was maybe like 40 girls, and sort of like I knew all their stories, and I counted, and I figured out that 1 in 4 of them had been victims of some kind of violence, gender-based violence. And that really hit home for me. And, you know, it's something that has really I've been thinking about it since I was 12, just about, how lucky that I am that I'm not one of those women, and how much work we need to do to support young girls and all people who are impacted by the issue of abuse and violence. So I'm really grateful that this unit exists and that we're talking about this, because I think the other thing is that one of the things that we talk about is like, this is often an issue that people don't want to talk about because it's very uncomfortable. And it is something that's usually, it's been passed down through generations, unfortunately. I think a lot of our violence stems from the residential school system, and we're coming to terms with that as a community. So that's some of the things that I think about in relation to this issue. And, I know that there's a lot of people who need our help. So I'm glad we are here to do this through MKO. And I'm very honored whenever I get to be a part of the work that we're doing through the MMIWG unit. So one of the things that I want to talk about now is the fact that today is a very important day. It's June the 3rd, and it's the 3rd year anniversary of the release of the final report that came from the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. So I'm wondering if you can just talk a little bit about why is today important, and why are we here to talk about that 3rd anniversary?
So yeah, today's an important day because it's like you mentioned, it's the 3rd anniversary of the final report, and and these 231 calls for justice. The final report of the National Inquiry, it's made up of stories and the experiences of family members who have been impacted by missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. So that all of that information, it's very valuable. And in those discussions came the 231 calls for justice, which it's a legal document, and it's important that all those calls for justice that are in in that document, it's those are actions that as Canadians and the government that we need to act on if we want to put an end to gender-based violence, and all these tragedies that that happen, and all these negative circumstances that it can be things can get better with that the 231 calls for justice, and following them, and putting them into action, and not just it's important to know what's in them, but to also put them into action. And as a community and as an organization, and as Canadians, we all have an important part to play in that, and to work together.
Thank you. So one of the things that you're doing as a unit today is organizing some events to commemorate the day. So can you tell me some of the event details, please?
Yeah. So we have 2 events, and they're going to be happening at the same time, which is exciting. So in Thompson, this afternoon from 1 to 4, our team, we're going to kind of have like a booth set up over at the City Center Mall in front of the just outside of the 26 Feather store. So we're going to have our staff there, and it's going to be an opportunity for the public to kind of engage, ask questions as to what today is, and the significance of it. We're going to have some items with information on the National Inquiry and the 231 calls for justice. And of course, we like to also give away self-care items too, because it's important, especially on days today, every day that we take care of ourselves and take care of our spirit. So we always like to include that, especially like when we give information too, and like you mentioned, the issue of MMIWG, it can be very triggering and really heavy for a lot of people, whether family members, ally. So we like to try to keep that balance. So that's happening in Thompson, like I said, at the City Center Mall from 1 o'clock till 4. just outside of the 26 Feathers store. And then here in Winnipeg, our team is going to be set up at the Forks MMIWG Monument. So it's it's right by Odena Circle there. And the same thing, we're going to have all the information that's going to be provided, likewise in Thompson, 231 calls for justice books. We're going to have kind of a one-pager and like some of the highlighted points on there, and talking a little bit about national inquiry. And then again, some of those self-care items. And then also at the monument site there, there'll be an opportunity to take tobacco and make, that offering and those prayers and leave it there at the monument site, along with we'll have some roses and stuff for family members and anybody else. It's open to the public, so it's for our families and survivors, but it's also for public members of the public to come out and to join us, and and even to come and talk. Like I said, we'll have our staff there, and get a chance to meet staff from Winnipeg and Thompson. So yeah, I encourage, if you have time, come out and see us at either location. Like I said, we're in Thompson and in Winnipeg today.
Thank you. That sounds really nice, Heidi. I'm glad people have the opportunity to meet your colleagues and team members. And I just want to ask you, I think this is a really important question. So there's people watching this and listening today who are wondering, they're concerned about the issue, but they're probably thinking like, well, what can I do? So do you have any tips or ideas for people who may want to help advocate on this issue? What can they do?
Yeah, so I have a variety of things. When one of the first things, like when there's events being hosted, around MMIWG and they're open to public, get involved. Attend, ask questions. It's important to educate ourselves on what are some of the root causes of why there's the issue of MMIWG. Like go back, kind of take that history lesson and go back and and read up on it up until today. And then, like I mentioned, we have the National Inquiry final report. Take a step back and go backwards and take that time to educate yourself. When you see abuse or harassment, speak up, put an end to it. That's a way of also being an ally. If you're with a friend or a family member and they're not strong enough to speak up for themselves, help them. Help them, walk with them. You can help them amplify their voice and what they're trying to share, and help them take their power back. Be that friend, be that ally. And always, like I said, always, when you see it, call it out. Don't be a kind of like a bystander, and provide, if you have resources, provide those resources to help somebody that's in, a situation that they need to get out of. And if you don't have any, maybe, work together to help that person.
Thank you. I appreciate those tips. I thought of one while you were sharing those. One of the things that I was thinking about is the importance of reclaiming our culture as Indigenous people. I was not raised in my culture, and when I became a mom, it became really clear that I need those traditional teachings to raise my son in a good way. And so my son is a young man now, but one of the things that we have talked about throughout his life are the traditional teachings around respecting women. And, we talk about consent, and we talk about how we treat other people and that kind of thing. And, I know he's told me that he's often watched out for young women who've been at parties and been in vulnerable positions and stuff like that. And I'm so proud of him when he tells me this, because I just think, if we can raise a whole society of young men like this to be watching out for their cousins and their sisters and their, relations and friends, like we're going to have a better world. So
Mhm.
I hope, I'd like to encourage anybody who's watching, like, if you don't know your traditional teachings, seek out elders and knowledge keepers and try to learn those and give your children opportunities to learn them as well, because those help to make us strong and healthy as a people. So I just want to thank you for sharing with us today, Heidi. And I want to thank you for dedicating yourself to this issue, as well as all your team members and the
Mhm.
people who have done the work before you. I acknowledge Hilda Anderson Pierce. She's really done a great job in building up the unit and building up a lot of knowledge on this. Um,
Mhm.
so I thank her as well. And I just wanted to ask if you have anything else that you would like to share today before we wrap up.
Um, you know, I just want to share, that, today and every day, I know today is a significant day, but, every day should be significant when, we're working towards, trying to put an end to gender-based violence. It's an everyday effort, and it's going to take everybody, even if you feel like, oh, I don't really have a part to play, everyone does, even if it's small. So, like I said, I thank you for giving an opportunity for me to introduce and share about the team, and and yeah, sharing who the team is. Like I said, I'm very fortunate to work with such a great bunch. We all have each other's backs, because like I said, the work does get tough and when we're busy, but they keep going. They keep going, and it's I love what I do, and so do they. So it's good that, like I said, it's really good to work with such a strong, dedicated group of individuals who are here to walk with families on their journeys, and when it's tough.
Miigwech Ekose Masicho, thank you for sharing your story with us. And we are sharing different resources in the comments of this live feed. And we'll share the link to the Reclaiming Power in Place report, so that if anyone wants to go and start looking at the calls for justice, they can do that. And if anyone is in the Winnipeg or Thompson area, I would encourage you to stop by the City Center Mall in Thompson, or the monument for MMIWG at the Forks, and come and say hello to some of the MKO staff there and make an offering and get some resources. So thank you for tuning in, and I wish you all the best, Heidi. Have a good day.
Thank you, Melanie.